It's 5:33 on the 29th of October 2016. I'm at home. Just heard some of the first trains coming into the station in the background. I sounded like if I've got a cold. I've had some problems getting some nose drops that were prescribed to me, and I'm currently on painkillers for um, some damage to my shoulder. However, this is about natural recordings, and this is very natural this time of the morning to sound like how I do. So, I have been listening to things online. It's just this is the times of things like podcast and video and yourself speaking, and yet I have decided to to record a series of broken monologues, like bits and pieces of monologues. It's not just one long thing, and put it on a CD. And when I'm ready, then I will. I don't know if that's the route I would go if I do podcasts and things like that. Um, but as I've been listening to great spiritual leaders and really successful people speak about living with authenticity and things like like the power of attraction, because I have experienced being stalked and what it is to survive it, and being abused and what it is to survive it, and go through the expected silence of abuse where you're supposed to put up with everything. I think that sometimes writtenly by people who are not necessarily diseased but just don't have the capacity or the boundaries to understand the sensitivity of freedom of will, if that's the best way to put it. But um, having gone through stalking the second time and it being very difficult to prove, the first time I could identify the person, I can go to solicitor and I can say, look, it was that person. The second time, this was a mix of antisocial behaviour and a lot of other things, but still with all the effects of what it is to be pursued. But in relation to meditation and spiritual work, whereby um, like the law of attraction is talked about as energy, we're talked about as all being energy and things being a vibration. So what you put out there is what you're in some way attracting back to you, and which I don't disagree with. But what I really had a problem with, which is what I really wanted to touch on, was that bit whereby you have been living your life doing just that, raising your vibration, focusing on the vision that can encourage you towards a greater goal, the bigger picture. But yet somebody that you are the vision of somebody else's life, whose life is not your is the vision is not the vision of you. You want your business to win a sports tournament, to do whatever, and it's nothing to do with this person who's just decided to look at you for whatever reason that is triggered in them and decide that they're going to pursue your life. Not for the greater good, even though everything leads to world peace, but it's the intention behind where's your intention is to go on and do better and accept, be available to the nudge that gives you that little inch to make things better in the world, not just for yourself, but by making things better for yourself, you then make things better for others around you come into contact with you. But who's this person? Maybe somebody whose intention is just cruelty and it's limiting. If they can affect whoever you deal with, your employer, your doctor, your nurse, your therapist, the shopkeeper, the school your children go to, if they can affect you in any way and make sure you face scarcity and limitation, and as you're minding your business going about doing what you want to do, but you're faced with somebody who's really working hard to build a community around you, which eventually where you don't feel free, where if they could employ everybody they can who has to answer to them to do anything that you need doing so that your life is still linked to theirs, how did you draw that to you when what you've been doing is minding your business and focusing on the vision of authenticity and even naturally and your true purpose. But the more you try and do that, even though it will hopefully pull you out of the situation, somebody's just consistently creeping on you. And I really had a this is part of the inspiration for me writing all the details about how negative it was, but also pulling through that and saying I did see the lessons and I did understand that there was a bigger picture here and there was a gem in that. But I always felt, even though I've read loads of books and you know really believe and have a lot of support, if you like, or I don't know what the best thing to say. Really have a lot of understanding, and it really resonates with what a lot of spiritual leaders say. But I just found when I was in the midst of being stalked at my job, what I had as a job and sort of stroke business, when I was sometimes I'd be employed, sometimes I'd be self-employed, and whatever that. I just really found it. I went to such dark spaces. It's like it's not saying everything. It's not saying that somebody could just be walking down the road. That's what I felt. That somebody could just be walking down the road and somebody, because of their own disease, that person loses their life. Even though they do say, you do pay attention to what's not working. For some reason, my own perception just got into this idea, my own experience and perception. I just felt that there was just a way more things could be said, and I could use what was happening to me to say that. And I went from drawing my journals, writing my journals. I used to monologue a lot. I've said this before anyway. I used to monologue a lot as a young mother, and use that in sound as well. But I really felt there was just more to be said, and that the journey that I was going through, that is something that I was shown, that nothing else seemed to be opening up, but just this constantly quest to just say what I believe were just things in between, because it could be, even though it's really positive, it can be completely disheartening the way if you see the whole glossy thing of, this is how authentic living is and that. And true enough, all those people who start businesses like that, they tell you it just did not happen overnight. Some people were in the middle of arrest and had their awakening. People been in all kinds of abusive situations, homelessness and everything, and that is what started their road to building. And you get lost in the idea of when you just see the whole gloss, you think, well, how do I get from here to there? But it is a really long road, and in between that, I've mentioned somewhere else in these monologues, I developed the wanting entrepreneur, because I was still in that place that I literally could not see my way out. I didn't know. I just felt like I had really come up against a very present but invisible enemy, because I could not identify. I could identify certain circumstances and something like that, but the person, when it first started with, even though I saw them once, I could not pinpoint them to everything that was happening. And it was really difficult, even though I could see the patterns were similar to what I'd been through before, and I couldn't understand why I was consistently coming up against these things. I knew I had responsibility to take, but after I went through a period when I decided to just take the full responsibility for everything. And it's not because it wasn't somebody else's responsibility, but I thought, well, maybe this is me. And then that means if I could take it, I know I believe in change. I know I believe in the bigger picture, so I know this thing is going to move itself on. Whereas if I was just waiting on somebody else, and there was a period of time when I was waiting for answers, you know what I mean? Then I realised actually that is what is keeping you stuck, because the people saying that they don't understand what is happening, that it's nothing to do with them. You can't get any answers from there. So, but then there's that kind of void, that non-void place where there is somebody has made it look like something else, and then the worst thing is that it's been done in such a way you couldn't help noticing it. It just sounds, it's really difficult, because I still don't feel like I come out and say everything I want to say. But one of the things of moving on from difficult situation is like that. It's something I've lived by the whole time. Really, is you once you've got a dream or you start to find something else that you're interested in, you focus on that so passionately or intently that what was really troubling you really moves on. I've had that when I've moved from workplace to workplace, where I've been really down in one workplace, and as soon as I decided to go for another opportunity, actually the effect of what was dragging me down just became less until it was non-existent. And I really believed in that journey because I'd seen it. It added up to what I believed and what I felt, and I did move on to better things. And that was a journey that continued for me. And to be honest, I don't see there's anything wrong with that. And it was until I was actually forced to notice that, wait a minute, there's something on here, because I know life in general opens up to you, and even in my attention being brought, what it feels like, back to what somebody is doing, trying to stop you, not wanting you to move on from job to job, or to go on holiday, or to use your hard-earned money to do better things because you'd had many mistakes in getting in debt, you've been young. You know, if you're not suicidal, you want to survive, you will do what you need to survive. Hopefully you do the right thing, But there were people who had other ideas. This word came to me, and to be honest, I don't know if it means anything to anybody else. But this word called shidlon, it just really prays you to make up something, but it just really described a level of hatred for me, and that is spelled Sierra Hotel India Delta Lima Oscar November Shidlon. Hopefully I've got that right. And it just really described to me a level of hatred, and it was towards sexual things, because I'd been through that at a young age, and I'd come through um, situations where I couldn't align my attraction to who I liked and who made me feel good, and I made them feel good. I could never get that alignment. It felt like I'd been promiscuous, and I went through a period when the stalking had started again. I'd moved, trying to make a fresh start for myself, and I was hit with all these feelings and all these situations and antics. And throughout that, I was writing Poetry Index 5, I think it was, and Forward, that was the subtitle of that one. And it's really bad. Anyway, in the first series of books, I had come across that a feeling of hatred when you're not attracted to someone who's attracted to you, and you really get a sense of their feeling of rejection, even though you may not intend to reject them, you may not even know who they are, but they just consistently pursuing you and doing things to get you to just be completely focused on them, so then you won't manifest anything else for yourself. And there's just this hatred about they can't have you, but yet the feeling you have is there's no attraction there. There is absolutely no attraction from this person, even though they may think they're trying to tell you they're attracted to you. There's no feelings of love, understanding, forgiveness, and passion, even though they may feel that's what they want to give to you. It is just a feeling of absolute hatred and antics, and they're doing things. So regardless of what will happen in your life, if they're left, if for instance you report the fact that somebody's doing something to you, but you can't, it does state you can actually, even though you don't know who it is, you should still come forward and say so, that you're having this issue. If they are not easily identified, what they go on to do is completely surround you if they can. They will control your calls, everything they can do, and then you are stuck in this kind of vortex with this anonymous situation going on. Even though you can recognize certain faces and stuff like that, it can't actually come together because there's no admittance, or it's very difficult to get, whatever is needed to bring this into absolute clarity. And it is just the most awful feeling. But having said that, even though I feel that there should be more details, and sometimes I don't think a lot of the spiritual things really covers specifics. It doesn't. but when you're in, it doesn't feel like it does. When you're really deep in it and you feel like you're the one surrounded, you look out your window, you're at home in your private space, but you're just completely aware by the time you get out, somebody's going to be pursuing you. If you're very energetically sensitive, if you're an empath or empathic type person, sensitive, if they're onto that side of your life, as that, whether it's your religion or your spirituality, they will try. A person with that level, that lack of boundary, will try and affect and control that. Then they will be hiring people to play on your energy, and people who can see whatever parts of your aura, whatever it is they do, that can really affect the way you feel. So when you go, I mean, I've gone through stages where I've gone out and I felt really happy outside. The minute I come home, I went through that for many, many, many years, where I lived somewhere I just did not. I was really glad to get there. I had moved to, when I was making a fresh start, empty nest, and I had moved to somewhere and I'd become really ill, and I used to have to climb about 78 stairs to get to my front door, and my body would be absolutely racked with pain by the time I got to my front door. So I literally would get in and I would just fall apart eventually as things got really bad, and I didn't understand that I'd gone into a different stage, because I've always lived with asthma, gone into a different stage of it at that time, which thank goodness has got somewhat better, but it doesn't, even though I'm well managed and I'm as healthy as I can be, life, the body, regardless of how you look when you're walking around, it sometimes can be absolutely, you could be in a lot of discomfort and pain. But I remember going to see this place, and for some reason I'd gone shopping or something, and I had a little disc of a toilet cleaner, and I'd gone to see this property, and I popped it in the actual tank of the toilet, so that when you flush the toilet, all the water come out blue. And I eventually was chosen to go to that property. Thank goodness it allowed me to come down from those stairs and live on the ground floor. But it's where I went through enormous pains, and I changed. I was on unemployment benefit, and I changed it to self-employment benefit. So even though I still lived on a handout a week, it was incredibly low compared to what I earned, because I wasn't getting the work. All of a sudden, I was struggling to get work that I could do with the physical capacity I had, because I was in so much pain. But I also had gone through a situation at work where I'd been banned from a site I was working on, and then even though I was asking for work, there was things supposedly to come through. By the time everything just had dismantled. So that's interesting. I've done a half an hour monologue. All of them have been about 5-10 minutes. Yeah, I don't know if I will include this, but to really bring it together, if I can, I hope I put this out there, because I really hope that somehow my survival of what I've been through, the way I've gone about things, can be used for research. And I don't know if I will maybe hopefully inspire just one person, just to say, when you're in that situation. When I first went through it as a young mother, and the person was just outside my window, I'd look out and I could see them dodging outside the window, and you go to open the door and they're there, and you're fighting just to get out your own, to even close your front door. Unless you go through it, it's difficult to explain that you're just on 24-hour alert. If you've chosen a job to do emergency call-outs, then you will understand that you will switch yourself up to be on alert, and then you can switch yourself down when you come off work, hopefully, if who you've been in contact with at work hasn't followed you home. But when you don't, and you're just your life is very vastly different from that, and you sit there, you can't get out your front door, because you're scared to go to your front door just in case the person's there, so you're always looking. If you go to the window, you're scared that you don't want them to see you. You don't know when you're going to turn around in the street, a shop, or somewhere they're going to be there to start this argument with you again. Walking down the road, you've got your pram in your hand, and then somebody's walking beside you calling your name, and just not even able to have the consciousness or the sensitivity to say, well, she's actually with a baby. Why would I do that to them? and it's just what it was the second time. I just constantly living in a don't know. I could see this person here. I could see try to raise awareness about it, but you just left in this void. And it's not, and you don't want to stay there. You don't want to feel sorry for yourself. If this has been years later now, I could still, there's some things that still concern me. But for some reason, because I suppose my intention was really to heal, grow, and really show what this journey is, and that was when people talk about the vision and the goal will encourage you out of what it is. Really having this idea when I started to paint, painting for me was something I remember going to. I don't think I mentioned this in the books and everything, but I did actually attend one class, and I don't remember connecting with what people were doing. They were all painting lovely watercolors and stuff, and I just couldn't get with it. I think I took child painting primary colours with me, and the quality of what was going on and what I could do. I never went back, and then it was years later that I had become so overwhelmed by what I was going through. I literally just sat on the floor and painted the broken open, and it just came to me, this figure with the arms in the air and the colours. I'd been given I was very blessed to be given a really professional set of watercolour paints and was able to work with them. Um, but it's something that I learnt to sketch, and that is all I learnt. I never really learnt freehand of painting. So some of my paintings had sketches underneath them, and I painted them, um, and was able to bring the paints in. I had never been able to coordinate paints that way. It was just a really new experience in that sense. So, what else? I'm in the middle of decisions. I'm going to compile a CD. I know I'm going to do it, but I don't know that I've got the real confidence I need. I still feel very fragmented about what I'm doing. I don't feel completely whole with bringing this together. But the intention to, regardless of what I was going through and what was being done, I knew I had to hold myself responsible. What I didn't want to do is live life feeling sorry for myself, live life feeling that I was somebody's victim. It's not the way I wanted to do. I felt I had enough resources about me. I'd invested enough money in myself to be able to make a profit, and it was just that I went through a time that I knew something else was messing with what was natural. That is the biggest thing. I think with stalking, nobody really wants to be able to have to sit around and be bothered and be taking notes about what somebody's doing and taking down. I mean, it's necessary to do in some cases, especially if people follow it through to a prosecution. But I could see with my situation that it had gone somewhere else beyond that. And what I really needed to do was just focus on getting strong, as I was very physically weak at the time. I was in enormous amounts of pain at time, and I just really had to pull myself out of that. And I really stick to everything taught about authenticity and living a life of purpose, because my purpose really became using my art in such a way, using my writing in such a way. And I'm beyond grateful that I could put together my poetry and put it out there and have a platform for it, and have that as something to develop, because my whole purpose was I wanted to make my designs and stuff like that, but for some reason nothing would open up for me to connect with it in such a way after I did the first batch, and it didn't go the way I'd hoped it would go. But I did have some small success with it, for which I'm grateful. I wanted the second time around that I was going for it to make it more marketable. I wanted to be truly myself, but I needed to find a way to get the meaning of who I was and the way I live and where these products are developed from out there. And so, it's strange enough, I developed everything that I was already there. I would always, once I'd learned free flow writing from a little course I did at community college, I learned a way to really throw everything down and get it out of my system. And like I said, Monologue, I used to have this little tape recorder, and I just used to talk into it when I was younger, because as a young mum, I used to spend a lot of time on my own. And it was partly because I didn't really have people around me. I had best friends, and there were just times when there was certain emotions that I just had to express, and I could only be by myself and express them. Because even though I connected with people, I wasn't so solitary as I am now. I would go out, and I had other mothers to connect with, and people I've been to school with, and blah blah blah. And we would have some really good soul conversations and stuff like that. But on the other hand, we had conflicts, and I didn't always feel like I was supported and would be understood. So in actually doing monologuing and things like that, I created. It was a way of creating a safe space for myself where I wasn't going to be judged or get into an argument, or sometimes I was referred to as being too judgmental and put people down and things like that. But I'm not going to disagree with how people feel about you. That's how they are. You can't take that away from them. That's how they feel. That's I can't take that away from them. Even though I would argue back because I've got a mouth on me. But that's the way you come across. That's the way you come across. That's the experience they will have, and that's their experience. What your intention is may be completely different to what they perceive. And that's been part of a whole journey. But it's been some years, and it maybe if it wasn't the experience of being stalking, it would have been some other challenge that would have brought me to this place of growth. Because if that's your intention underneath everything, if you want to grow, you want to become more than what you are. You don't want to stay no scar, no bruise, or anything like that. Then something will come up in your life that will nudge you along to that next thing that you want to evolve to. Fantastic. That's it. I just hope my wishes with this thing, my intent with this thing, just to keep it really, really real, with all the gaps, all the stuttering, whether things flow in sequence or not. Just get it out there. My one thing now is being able to mix music with this. That's my apprehension. So, yeah, I hope that comes across. The thing with the Shidlong thing was to get the hatred, get away from that hatred, and that whole thing with love. It's been like two polar experiences, because you get the hatred of what I call that Shidlong, when somebody's attracted to you but they really don't know how to say it, and they actually end up projecting so much hate at you that all you feel is hatred. And then what I was shown was the complete other side, where you can love someone when you're able to be shown. You can see the love someone has, and have the respect to understand that when you're attracted to someone, part of that attraction is the love. If that person had a relationship with the parent, is the love of the parent that is part and parcel of that person's eminence. And it may be the love of an ex-girlfriend or ex-wife, and it definitely, if they have children, be the love of their children. Or it may be somebody who's really worked hard and had such a good career, and they've really built themselves up through everything. So when you love someone, or someone's very attractive, it's what they've been able to come through that's part of the attraction, not just how they may look and how sexually desirable they may come across as. There's a lot of components to love, and that was so big to me and so important to me, because I actually came through so much criticism and hatred, and what love relationship looked like to me when I was younger. Didn't have that lesson. I wasn't shown. I couldn't see that for so many years. It's only been in my later years I can really articulate it as that, as I became more sensitive to what, and paid more attention to what I was feeling and how that connected to somebody, and really get into the crux of what is attraction, because I'd always had this self-consciousness about having been to many people that I may not be was not really that attracted to, and then would not want to see them, and that would be a really brutal thing for them, and for me as well, not just feeling the way that you end things and stuff like that. But then sometimes if you weren't brutal, they didn't have the boundary to realise years have gone down the line. They just can't just walk up to you and try and stick their tongue down your throat because they once had you. And it's just such mind mess of that situation, whereby you're kind of dealing with people that forcing the boundaries all the time. Sometimes you have to be abrupt and get out of it, and then they can't deal with the abruptness, and then so you've got years of dealing with all their antics and stuff like that. Obviously there's a better way. Maybe therapy and other things could have helped, which I didn't eventually go for the second time around. I just choose to use time, and time really did heal a lot of things like that, because initially I wasn't coming up with those feelings, but as I started to write poetry, as I started to observe who was around me, and started to see different things after years of just switching certain feelings off and certain attractions off, and really started to see who and what will pull that out. And it's not to say that you have any personal connection with them or anything. This could be a complete stranger, anybody, somebody, you see somebody in a film and the way they act out the part, you can just look at them and know they've got support. There's really that difference, being able to perceive someone who's supported, and maybe someone who's supported themselves and really had to build themselves up, or someone who's had a good relationship with parents and it's been built up, and how that comes across. And some people when they're young they have that perception. I came into it as I was older. It was always there resonating with me in the background, but being able to really articulate it and really stay with that energy was really something else. Well, that's really interesting, because to do a CD you have to it has to be at least 60 minutes, and I've done 31 minutes. But such is the blessing, I mentioned it again. And now I'm off to do my editing to see whether this is going to work or not.